The postseason gets underway. We'll have a playoff preview. 20 years after what could have been a paralyzing hit, my broadcast partner BJ MacPherson shares his miraculous comeback story. And we'll hear and see the best sights and sounds from the regular season.
Good rebound control, Dawsey. Almost a pizza.
That and more as California Coast Credit Union presents the latest edition of Gulls All Access.
For Garrett, wrap around.
Hi and welcome to Gulls All Access presented by California Coast Credit Union. My name is Andy ZILCH with BJ MacPherson. The San Diego Gulls are getting set for the Pacific Division Championship. We'll get you set too. Let's talk about the regular season and how it closed though, BJ. The Gulls go with the Loveland, Colorado. They lose the first one, but then they take two consecutively and the final one in overtime.
Well, with 3 games to go in the season, the Gulls really didn't get that first one under the belts like the way they wanted it. But Agazino really called it the way it was. A lot of the Gulls players hadn't played in days, maybe a couple few in weeks, but after that first one, they really got their belts settled and went up and won the next 2.
Well, you said that perfectly too, because the Gulls had a lot of players that came back from the Ducks that hadn't played in weeks. Guys like Vinny Lettieri, Trevor Carrick, Simon Benoit, Josh Mahura. Those are 4 very integral parts of this team. The Gulls got them back, and they flew right back into the lineup too. And Andrew Agazino scored the game winner in overtime to close out the regular season.
He comes back to an arena he used to call home and ends the regular season with an overtime game-winning goal.
Well, that's what you love to see, because just before that, the Gulls had a lineup they hadn't had all season. If you were healthy, you were playing in the games. And the great thing was, the Gulls were still getting the wins, and that's a testament to the coaching staff right down through all the guys in the lineup. But when you go to Colorado, you get your full set of lineup.
And now completely full. Sam Carrick, Trevor Zegras, and Jamie Drysdale added to the roster. Kind of puts a smile on your face to see what we have here in San Diego for the postseason run.
Well, what it does is it makes the lineup tough. Tough for coaching staff to put the lineup out in the ice. You got to think of the way the practices are going now. Are you going to be that guy on the ledge to make the lineup or not make the lineup? It's a tough call for the coaching staff, but guaranteed, this is the tough job the coaches want to have. Wondering who to put out there. It's not a big wonder for these guys. They know who they want in the ice.
We know the opponent is the Bakersfield Condors. What are your impressions here with the stacked lineup and how the Gulls are going to take on the Condors?
Yeah, I think it's a good start with Bakersfield. I think the Gulls are going to come out, show their dominance right away, and that's what you want to do when you go into the playoffs. You want to get on a good roll, and I think going to play against Bakersfield is going to be that role.
BJ, it's a best-of-3 series for each of these 2 series that the Gulls could embark on. You have round 1 against Bakersfield, and then round 2 would be Vegas or the 4 seed. But a best-of-3, what does that mean to you?
Well, best of 3 means there isn't a game you can let go. You got to take care of every game. You can't let one slide here. Again, the best of 7, you can let one slide, but a best of 3, you got to be ready from that puck drop until when the buzzard rings.
Let's take a look at the Bakersfield Condors. 2 guys that were in the top 7 of the points. It's like we know them and we're not even a part of that team. What kind of insight can you give us?
I think the Gulls are going to play their game and allow Bakersfield to try to adapt against the Gulls. You don't have to depend on 5 guys. You got everybody to depend on.
If you get caught and you play a slower game, they're going to make you pay for it physically. But because they're so big, is that an area of exposure for the Gulls?
Not at all. To me, I think the Gulls play the old saying, it's not the size of the dog, it's the size of the heart of the dog. And a bunch of the dogs in this Gulls team don't care who they're playing against, don't care the size. Again, the Gulls are going to play their system, and their system's going to take control.
Stuart Skinner against the San Diego Gulls this year has played really good games. He's played really bad games. What is the area of exposure that the Gulls need to attack on him?
Don't allow him to be the guy that's going to save the Bakersfield team. Make him have a game that he doesn't feel comfortable. Got to take many shots. Keep those shots coming. I don't think one guy is going to stop this Gulls team.
Even though it's just a Pacific Division championship that's on the line, still enthusiastic, still playoff atmosphere. BJ MacPherson, thanks a lot for your time.
Thanks very much, Andy.
Well, at the beginning of the season, we talked to the AHL's president and CEO, Scott Howson. And at the shortened season, there was a lot of obstacles that the league had to overcome. We're able to catch up with the president yet once again and get his thoughts on how the season unfolded in his eyes.
I think it's been a success. It wasn't without its challenges and you know, stops and starts. I really give a lot of credit to our teams, particularly our athletic trainers, who not only did their normal job, but also really served as the main liaison with the league office and taking care of the players and communicating COVID issues. They went above and beyond this year for sure. We managed relatively to keep everybody safe. I don't think we've had a positive case in the Pacific Division for, you know, 7 or 8 weeks now. You know, I always look back last summer, there was only Major League Baseball played. And we think about all those thousands of players that lost a full season of development. And certainly our owners and the NHL owners stepped up this year and said, that's not going to happen with the American Hockey League. We want to play, even though you can't make a business case for us playing. We want to play, and we were able to accomplish that.
One, Gruen, Kindop shoots, scores a shorthanded goal. That's a 2-goal lead for San Diego.
The Pacific Division continues to grow, and since 2015, teams continue to be added after the inception of this division. Now we see the Vancouver Canucks AHL affiliate move to Abbotsford. What is your perspective of this addition to the division?
It's 9 teams now in the Pacific, soon to be 10 teams, and you know, that's becoming an issue that we have to deal with in terms of playoffs. You know, right now in our current format, or the last format that we had, 4 teams would enter the playoffs from each division, and now you're talking about you know, only 40% of the teams in the Pacific Division entering the playoffs or getting a chance for a playoff spot. So we've got to look at that, and we are looking at that and trying to come up with something that's fair to everybody. So that's going to be a challenge to figure out. You know, I don't think we envisioned a 10-team division back in 2015 when this division was created, but we'll find the right solution and try and make it fair for everybody.
Up next, it's been 2 decades since BJ MacPherson was wheeled off the ice after being injured in a game in Idaho.
And now MacPherson is laying in the crease, and he's not moving.
In those moments, it wasn't clear whether he would live, much less walk again. That and more as Gulls All Access, presented by California Coast Credit Union, returns. The best way to enjoy live games next season is through a Gulls Elite membership. New memberships are on sale now, and you can get all the information by visiting sandiegogulls.com/Gulls Elite. Welcome back to Gulls All Access, presented by California Coast Credit Union. My name is Andy ZILCH with BJ MacPherson, who has been an integral part of our show this year. So let's get to know a little bit more about the man who calls the games with me. BJ, you hail from Toronto, Ontario. It's hockey madness up there, but what drew you to the sport of hockey?
Like you said, it's hockey madness. You wake up, it's hockey night in Canada. You can walk down the street and listen to the games being played from house to house in Toronto. And again, just growing up in a bigger family, hockey was it for me. From sisters loving Bobby Orr to I remember waiting in a line for hours to get his autograph, all the way up to Daryl Sittler and down the line with the Toronto Leafs.
So as you grow through your childhood and then you get drafted into junior hockey with the Oshawa Generals, what was that experience like?
You know, my first year with the Oshawa Generals, they had just won the Memorial Cup, so that's a big one, and we had a pretty stacked lineup. We had a few pretty good hockey players. You know, Rob Pearson, Freddie Brathwaite, the goalie, and we had this big number 88, Eric Lindros, on the team, which made it every time we went and played somewhere, we'd get booed and we'd get heckled, and then everybody would wait after the game to get his autograph.
As you move through the Oshawa Generals, you get into pro hockey, and then you come to San Diego. Very uncharacteristic landing spot for somebody who grew up in Canada. What was your initial reactions of San Diego?
Well, in a heartbeat, the way it all happened there, my rookie year playing pro was the NHL lockout. So it went from a couple training camps to where carte blanche, they get your plane tickets and everything, to where I had to sell my old beater, the Ranger Ford pickup truck, to colored, beige on rust, I used to like to say. But I went to Washington, and then from Washington, I went from Baltimore to Portland to South Carolina. I ended up in Toledo, Ohio. But what happened was I played roller hockey that year in Anaheim. And when the season finished, I kind of just said, hey, there's a team here in San Diego, and a buddy named Darren Perkins hooked me up with, and that's where I stayed.
And now MacPherson is laying in the crease. And he's not moving.
So 20 years ago, almost to the day, an injury occurred, and we can relive it just a little bit here briefly with you. Then we know the story. In Idaho, Boise, your career ended. Walk us through that day.
May 4th, 2001, Boise, Idaho, Game 3. Second period, going to the net, Daniel Shank. Took the shot, you look back on it now, and I wish you had to pass me that puck. Hits the goalie, comes back at me, rebound, my feet come out from under me, and I get a little bit of a hit from behind on the back of my neck. You know, tugs me forward, and that day's a day. I'm not good on days, knowing the days of the week and things like that, but what I'll say is that's a day I'll never forget.
So as you were injured and the diagnosis eventually came, what was the news that was delivered to you?
So when I had fallen to the ice and I was getting up, I got kneed from behind, and my forehead actually hit my belly button. So that's just a movement you don't want to have. And what happened was vertebrae 4 and 5 dislocated forward to where your vertebrae are like this and your spine goes through it. But then you take the 2 and 4 and it went in an S. And the greatest thing in the world was my spine didn't rip completely. There was a tear in 2 spots. But when Dr. Christian Zimmerman, he released it and put me straight forward again, they, married together again.
So you were able to fight through and get back to San Diego. Your mom literally held your hand to make the signature to get out of the hospital. But to get there, there was a man responsible for that, Ron Hahn.
Well, it started with Ron Hahn getting me out of the Boise hospital, but what it was when they flew me to San Diego on the tarmac, Game 7 that year, 2001, and they bring me to the Alvarado Hospital is when, what I didn't like about it is I had a chuckle from a doctor. He gave the old, you're not going to the game. So after the doctor chuckled, it really hit my heart, and that's where I was like, I couldn't say anything, and they said, you have to check out of this hospital, meaning you sign your rights out that you're not, being insured by the hospital anymore. And the doctor was like, you can't do that. And that's when my mom came over and she said, yeah, he sure can. And she took my hand with 2 hands and we signed the X on the paper, which indicated that I was no longer with the hospital.
Being in that locker room for Game 7, despite everything you went through, was that your best moment?
That was one of them, and I'll tell you, it was a whole cycle to get there, getting out of the ambulance as you go down in the sports arena, going into the locker room and seeing the guys. And not everybody saw me because they didn't want to look at me. You understand that. And I gave my quick little speech, and it was, I got here for us and we're going to do this together. It's that thing, and you put your best foot forward. Well, I remember mostly as watching the first couple minutes of the game. But then so quick it happened that I started losing the eyesight. And then that's when reality again came back, and then going back to the hospital. But yeah, I'm never going to forget that.
So there's a clip that I want to play from an interview you did shortly after, and then I'll comment, and then we can talk about it.
These guys walk in a locker room like they're flipping by the time they walk out. But just before that, I was saying, how hard I wanted to be here, and with my right foot, I just showed a movement, and I said, you think that's hard to do? And then I kicked my left one pretty good, and I said, but that's how we got to play today.
Before games, when you and I go up to the booth, and if it's a good game, you give me the leg kick.
Yeah.
Is that something that you'll always think about now?
So you and I do that on the big games. We're getting ready, and when you call the game, you get excited for it, right? We're in the game together, but I've gotten to get a job 16 years now with Specialty Textile, and everybody in my office knows when I come in and I throw the Chuck Norris kick, I made a big sale. So it's everywhere in my life. I do the same thing. It's just not in hockey, but yeah, that kick is a big purpose.
We'll be back later in the show with part 2 of my interview with BJ MacPherson. Coming up, we'll have the best of the season from players who were mic'd up.
Good pass, baby.
We'll be right back. San Diego Gulls many plan deposits are now being accepted for next season. Save on tickets and choose the plan that best fits your schedule, or build your own plan that includes your favorite Gulls matchups. Visit sandiegogulls.com/mini-plans. Turning now to this week's Gulls hometown hero. She's Ocean Beach native AUDREY Stratton. It's abundantly clear inside the Feral Cat Coalition offices that AUDREY loves the Gulls and cats.
If you know much about OB, there's cats everywhere, so I grew up just hanging out in people's front yards, petting their cats. And my family always had cats. I was raised to be really compassionate with animals.
The coalition spays and neuters cats to keep their population down in areas where they might go uncared for.
The Feral Cat Coalition supports the community by providing free spay and neuter to community cats, which we've done for nearly 30 years now. We just recently, due to COVID, have started assisting with owned pets and local rescue groups with low-cost spay and neuter. We use really short-acting anesthesia, so as soon as they wake up, they'll go right back into their traps, where they'll recover and then they get released tomorrow.
The cats are captured, spayed or neutered, and then released where they were found. The clinic is open 2 days a week and is funded through donations. Gulls fans, take note. If you'd like to donate, you could be helping a cat that is named after one of your favorite players.
We went out and trapped some kittens, and we actually named all of them after Gulls players. And every single kitten was adopted by a Gulls fan.
If you'd like to help the cause, you can donate at feralcat.com. Thanks to AUDREY Stratton for doing her part for San Diego, making her a true hometown hero. And now on to part 2 with our interview with BJ MacPherson. Past your career-ending injury, you become the broadcaster for the San Diego Gulls in the ECHL days. Well, how did that start?
Well, I got lucky to be able to do that. Like anything else in my life, I got lucky with. Chris Ello was the team radio broadcaster, who was, let me tell you this, Tony Gwynn's roommate in college. And so he became the Gulls broadcaster and would come on and do all the radio. And Chris Ello was just like you are, you know, a face of the team, a regular guy. And Chris Ello and I, after my accident, he allowed me to get in the broadcaster booth with him. And so that's how I got started. And to this day, I get to listen to Chris.
And then you get a call again when the team comes back to the AHL. What did that mean to you?
Well, that's a story in itself as well. Before Matt Savant, Ari Siegel was the president of the team. I'm driving a company van to where I got a call and I didn't understand whose number it was, and I pulled over and Ari Siegel said, "Hey BJ, we want you to do the the color commentating." And I pulled over. I was like, "What are you asking me to do?" You know, and I was like, "Sure." And he didn't even offer anything. I was like, "I'd love to do it."
The stars aligned for you to get back to health for the injury, and it continues to bode well because of your hard work and your never giving up attitude. What are your thoughts on where you stand right now after the injury, looking back 20 years later?
Well, I remember lying in the hospital and thinking, what do I do in 5 years from now? What do I do in 10 years from now? I never had the 20-year one, so that's a weird one, but 20 years down the line now, I never thought I'd be in the position I am today. So with that being said, I've done way better than I ever thought I'd do.
BJ MacPherson, thanks. It's a pleasure to call games with you.
Thanks, Andy.
Throughout the season, Gulls players have taken you down on the ice for sounds of the games. We've compiled the best of the mic'd up and top plays of the regular season.
Cal Coast Credit Union, baby. Proud sponsor.
Yep.
Oh, I'm on you.
Don't shoot it, you're fine. Away, big boy. Ben's mental.
Oh, good rebound control, Dawsey. Almost a pizza though. Oh. Let's get through this, yeah.
Good save, bud.
Raised on the play for defender Podorowski. He shoots and scores. Andrew Podorowski.
Good pass, baby.
Gets cleared away. Carcone steps in around the defense and a save. Eric Sinek closes the door on Carcone. He'll hold. Uhura calling for it. He finds his brother and scores. Sam to Trevor, and it's 3-2 San Diego.
That's such a dive. I didn't do it. I just gave him a little bump and slob. Yeah. How you doing, 3-4? How did we get trapped at 3D on the ice? Why did you guys put the guys out there? No, they were telling the other wrong guy to get off, and he wouldn't let him stay. So that's an error, though. You can correct that. Well, at least we didn't get scored on. That's all good. It's a wash. It's a wash. Didn't you call 2 and then you switched it to 4?
I saw he was leaking. I didn't see he was leaking at first.
Bite the lip, smart guy. No, you didn't blow it. You didn't blow it though. It's on the. It's in. It's in. What's he supposed to do there? He's that goalie hit him. Off 6. What's he trying to do here? What's he trying to do? What's that? I have no respect. You blindsided me there. Get in your bed. I don't care if you do. I don't care if you respect. You think I care if you respect me?
Center, but it's poked away. Finds Lowe, shoots, scores! Keegan Lowe finds a loose puck in the slot. 2-1 San Diego, 4.7 left. It's launched back up by Lettieri, pass to Zegras, goes to the backhand. He scores! Zegras with his toe on the stick on the ice on a backhand feed between his legs from Lettieri. Put that on ESPN for a top 10 moment. Chance, rebound, save, another chance, and Anthony Stolars with the save. Right wing leaves it for Drysdale. He's got a seam. Drysdale in, shoots, and scores! Game over!
That's all we have for this edition of Gulls All Access presented by California Coast Credit Union. The Gulls embark on the postseason tonight, and for all the coverage, go to sandiegogulls.com for full information or visit any one of the San Diego Gulls social media outlets. For the cast and crew, my name is Andy ZILCH. Thanks for watching Gulls All Access.
He comes back to an arena he used to call home and ends the regular season with an overtime game-winning goal.